Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
You are most welcome to PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best and latest updates in politics. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for more updates, like and also share to other members to watch as well. You can equally leave a comment at the comment section after watching or send us a voice note to our WhatsApp number 0277 128 777. Today I want you to join me listening to what Mutala has also come out to say about the Dumsor crisis and how he exposed the NPP of their wicked behavior to wicked days government. Without much ado, I would like you to join me listening to what he said into detail. Thank you.
That power crisis ahead, that's a question we're raising, and what urgently needs to be done to deal with it. I'll start once again with Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed on that.
First and foremost, I think that for me, everything any government does or any political party does, to a very large extent, must be influenced by suspicion and perception sometimes. We have had people who have said through social media, long before the handing over ceremony was done, that the agenda of the NPP government or the outgoing government at the time was to plunge this nation into Dumsor. Those statements, and you might have heard, some even said it on radio and on TV. As to what information they had, we do not know. But I guess that those statements were informed by the impending challenges that confronted us as a state. So let no one be deceived into thinking that this was just by some accident. It was deliberately occasioned by the outgoing government to subject this country into such challenges. And I say this because the government long knew that for them to even go in for acquisition of oil or acquisition of oil for the purposes of powering, our machines to provide us with the necessary electricity takes about 21 days. So everything you do, you need to have some plan. They never did that. They left us with crude that only lasts 5 hours. Even though the argument is that in some aspects you have about 21 hours, but in most of them just 5 hours. The question is that if they knew that this was not going to be enough, why didn't they request for same? Because I've heard the argument that because Parliament refused to allow the government to present a budget. Yesterday I had one NPP communicator. They brought those things in Parliament and Parliament refused to do that. That was completely misleading. It had nothing to do with acquisition. This thing would have been factored into the budget for last year. That at this particular point in time, in their planning, between this period to this period, this is what we are going to request. Be it as it may, assuming without admitting that Parliament even refused to do what they were expecting Parliament to do, you come to Parliament with some conditions, telling Parliament that if you want us to present a budget for the purposes of taking care of the first quarter of 2025, you need to also agree to approve the judges who were appointed and whose vetting was done by the Committee of Parliament. You also need to agree to give government the go-ahead to give those tax exemptions of hundreds of millions of dollars to entities that clearly have some relationship with the president and the then government. And Parliament said we're not going to do that. That we were not going to do that because those exemptions were unacceptable. You cannot be going in for a loan of about $150 million when you are giving tax exemptions to companies amounting to over $300 million. It never made any sense to anybody. Now, so you realize that they are now desperately tying the challenges that are confronting us, assuming without admitting that that was even the reason. They never requested for the needed crude to take care of the machines to give us the necessary energy. So it was deliberately done. Let no one be deceived into thinking that it was just by accident. It had nothing to do with Parliament refusal to do what they wanted us to do in Parliament. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with the fact that they wanted to saddle this government with this challenge. Because mind you, Dumsor was used largely in the 2016 elections. Even though the NDC found solution to Dumsor, by August 2016, we never had Dumsor. We went into the elections in 2016 without Dumsor. To the extent that Dr. Bawumia himself admitted that President Mahama found solution for Dumsor. So what? That it was his responsibility. Yet, in the elections for 2020, they used Dumsor, knowing very well that they never solved Dumsor. They said that they came and solved Dumsor when the facts were pointing to something completely different. So in order to remind the people of this country about Dumsor, they deliberately did that to settle this government. On the issue of the schools and then the fact that they didn't have enough food, some of them have resumed, they don't have food. It was clear that government wanted that to. For a point, one wonder whether the NPP government at the time knew they were losing elections. Because 1 month after the election, between the elections and the swearing in, one whole month, if they had made the request for the necessary crude and also feeding for those schools, we wouldn't have had the problems we have. But you see, like President Mahama said, he's not elected to lament. He's elected to find solutions to the problems. I'm aware that even before the swearing in was done, President Mahama had taken some bold steps to ensure that we are not saddled with the challenge we are saddled with. Apart from the committee which was set up, which was publicly announced, I am well aware some of the measures and the steps President Mahama took to ensure that we don't have the problem. And thank God, we haven't had Dumsor, and I don't think we'd have any Dumsor. Look, I also listened to NPP communicators who argue that no, that the NDC, their argument prior to, during the Dumsor, was that it had nothing to do with capacity, that it was about financing. And now you came into power. They are now saying that yes, they maintain that it had nothing to do with capacity because the NDC's argument was that it was capacity. What have they added to our generational capacity in this country? They haven't added anything. So look, I think that there should be some investigation in this matter. If it is established that it was deliberately done, I think that there should be some consequences. Because the President Mahama's assurances of the people of this country that he's going to run a transparent and accountable government, and those who engage in acts ought to be accounting to the people of this country, is not only limited to financial accountability. Even conduct to the extent that those conducts were done deliberately to ensure that this country goes through a pain. I think that such investigation ought to be done. And I would urge that there should be some investigation into the matter. If you are a public servant or a civil servant, you have a moral duty and a responsibility to work for the state. If you allow yourself to be used by any political appointee or political elite to do something that will have dire consequences of this country, you must be made to pay for that. Because the energy crisis affects, in fact, even with the perception and the thinking that we may experience some of these challenges, would have affected planning of industries and businesses. It would have affected. For all you know, someone was sitting down thinking that, okay, we may experience Dumsor. Do I need to buy a new plant? Maybe the monies he would have invested into the business, he use it to buy a plant because there is a signal that they may be doing so. But for the speed with which His Excellency the President intervened, I think that was the agenda of this government. And I would urge that some investigation should be done in this matter. And those who occasion that should not be left to go scot-free.
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade. Just a few more comments from our earlier discussion. This one is from Clement Kusoi in Sunyani, who says, I strongly agree with your panel. Public money that found its way into private pockets must be coughed out miserably. It appears many Ghanaians are now begging to belong to their own country. Basic necessities such as food, clothing, and shelter cannot be met by many. It's a shame that very old men like Akufo-Addo think about their children and grandchildren only, throwing the rest to the dogs. We press involvement now, and the idea to involve the bigger minds and not relatives. Ghana can go far. Let's put our fingers crossed and work harder. Thank you for that comment. This one says the ministries announced are appreciated, but yet still, why not merge transport to highways or roads or to roads ministries? That's Kobla in Kokwe. There's also those ones that I believe President Mahama will succeed and leave a very nice legacy before going out. I'm watching live from Gomwa, Takwa. Special greetings to Uncle Pratt. This one says, Sana, please tell the people of Burkina Faso that when next time they release their leader to us, we will take him away from them. We love Traore. Traore, that's his name, Marcelino from Texas, sent that. Always investigation. Yet my NDC party can arrest and prosecute NPP public holders. Yet they find all means to prosecute NDC. Look at what they did to Chachu. Marcelino sent that from Teshi. This one says, for your information, the protocols of presidential visits or invitation starts even before the guest arrives. From the aircraft level of flight, nails and qualifications or ranks of the flying crew, who will be armed, caliber of weapon, amount of rounds, etc. Please, it is good to ask questions, but at the same time, we must be ready to learn what hitherto we do not know. Thank you for that comment.
That just hours before President Mahama was sworn in.
I mean, the disrespect, the sheer disrespect. 2 hours before leaving office. Why was he in a hurry to do that?
It was just to drive a wedge between President Mahama and the other countries within the West Africa sub-region, within the continent of Africa.
Well, we should have seen it coming. Just the same day he was reading the Sona, he was paying the Eurobond.
Yes, it was deliberate.
So we should have seen it coming.
I thought no matter what reasons they have, they could have left it to the incoming government to say that, look, this were the factors we considered and this was the decision we're going to take. Leave it to the incoming administration to decide whether they want to go on that tangent or not. But for you to do that just 2 hours before President Mahama was sworn in, it was deliberate. Just to draw a wedge between President Mahama and other heads of state. Mind you, the Sahrawi African Republic, they are also supported by many countries, not just in Africa. Many countries agree with their position, both within Africa and the
Master, Morocco.
Yes.
You know, when Morocco came back to join the AU, it had to sign that document which proclaimed the AU as the AU as the successor to OAU. And that document starts by we, the following countries, have agreed. So it was in alphabetical order. So if you get to S, Saudi Arab Democratic Republic. And Morocco signed without raising any objection. So by that very act, Morocco recognized the Saudi Arab Democratic Republic. Morocco itself recognized by that very act the Saudi Arab Democratic Republic. So how can there is no serious African capital that you will go to and you won't find an embassy for Morocco and an embassy for the Saudi Arab Democratic Republic. You go to South Africa, the 2 countries have diplomatic missions there. You go to Zimbabwe, you go to Lagos, everywhere. Where is this coming from? This is a country recognized by the AU, recognized by the UN, and you sit in your...
Interesting information on how this happened, but I'm still getting that information, how that letter was put together in the wee hours of the administration. Anyway, but in the meantime, we said even at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, in the last days, they employed 100 people and made sure they integrated them before leaving power. So very interesting things happened during that period.
A lot of the ministries and agencies, they did promotion. They should all be revoked.
They should all be revoked. Contracts that has
Works and Housing about 5 million Ghana cedis contract.
Fighting over
$5 million contract. 12 days after the election.
Yes, I saw the letter.
No, 12 days before the swearing in. $5 million contract.
Well, let me say a big thank you to Comrade Kwesi Kwajina, who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed is Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. We are still waiting the appointment. Anyway, and now promoted to Director.
He's waiting.
I mean, Senator, you are lobbying for appointment.
I'm telling you.
You gave me an appointment.
And I never knew when they were asking.
So now why are you lobbying for appointment?
I'm not lobbying for any appointment.
but he deserves an appointment. He deserves an appointment. They are making an appointment. They are very good people that work tirelessly for this administration. But they work for John Muhammad. He's going to get them.
So
everybody who works for John Muhammad.
But somebody, they are also somebody. Somebody must get. So there's somebody.
I never knew that you could be promoted on Alaji and Alaji until today.
I'm so grateful.
When Sulu has been promoted to director level.
Yeah.
So director Solomon Owusu. Always nice to have you. And of course, nice to see me, Nia Boyanan, Ellie, this year. We're looking forward to a fantastic year, by the way. Anyway, thank you very much, as always, for watching us, for listening to us, and for commenting. We are always grateful to you. From the crew here at Pan-African Television, we wish that you have a very wonderful weekend and have a successful and fruitful week. We'll see you next week, Saturday.
To our new members, we urge you to subscribe to the channel. Turn the notification bell on, like, and also share to other members to watch as well. And to everybody, we say thank you once again for being on the channel and with your patience to listen to us any day, anytime. Thank you once again.
PENDREAM TV now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.